One of the most interesting ideas during the last season of Game of Thrones is that Daenerys Targaryen was actually pregnant with Jon Snow's child. This hypothesis is quite sad, as this means that Jon not only ended the life of the woman he loved, but also the life of his own child. In the Game of Thrones universe, stories of love and betrayal have been constant in every season, and Daenerys and Jon Snow's relationship was no exception. One that culminated with the moment when Jon decided that Daenerys would no longer be his queen. But what would you think if I told you that Jon Snow's future could change for better or for worse if Daenerys really got pregnant? Is there still a chance to see the child of both characters? In this video, we will be analyzing the theory of Daenerys Targaryen's pregnancy. Welcome to the Three-Eyed Raven. Although this theory was popular during the transmission of Game of Thrones, it is not until 2 months ago that it has been gaining strength again after a Reddit user posted the following image. In this image, it shows what appears to be a deleted scene from the 8th season of Game of Thrones, in which Daenerys can be seen pregnant. We can see that this scene is the same one that occurs before Daenerys attacks King's Landing. But in the Game of Thrones scene, we don't see her showing her belly. This is where people begin to speculate that this was a deleted scene. Other colleagues have mentioned the idea that it's a deleted scene to confuse the public, because Game of Thrones was full of leaks, and possibly they created this image so that if it was leaked, everyone would think Daenerys was pregnant. Now, what if she really was? The first time we see Daenerys pregnant in Game of Thrones is after her marriage to Khal Drogo. This pregnancy ends because of a witch of magic who, to take revenge, not only ends Khal Drogo's life, but also interrupts the pregnancy of the mother of dragons.
He lives. You asked for life. You paid for life.
This is not life. When will he be as he was?
When the seas go dry, when the mountains blow in the wind, like leaves. When the sun rises in the west, sets in the east.
This was a very sad moment in Daenerys' life, as she had to lose her husband and her son on the same day. From that moment on, Daenerys focuses on her dragons and on recovering the power that once belonged to her family. Jon Snow is the first Targaryen Daenerys has met in a long time, and she feels an inexplicable attraction to him. It is later revealed that they have the same lineage, but it was too late. The two are together, though of course, this has never been an impediment for the Targaryens. Subsequently, Tyrion convinces Jon that he must stop Daenerys, and Jon finishes her off. This is where the theory splits into two interesting parts. The first idea about Daenerys' pregnancy is that during her last seconds of life, Daenerys managed to transmit the idea to Drogon to take her body to the Temple of the Red Priestesses in Volantis. Let's remember that there is a magical connection between the dragon and its rider, so this is not out of the realm of possibility. Perhaps this desire to escape to Volantis and destroy the throne was what drove Drogon to act that way. Now, we have seen several resurrections in the Game of Thrones universe, from Beric, the Mountain, and even Jon Snow himself. If the theory is correct, Daenerys' body would be transported to the Temple of the Lord of Light in Volantis, where they could perform a ritual to rescue her from the darkness clutches. But if Daenerys is pregnant, they could only save her child. It is here that the story becomes really interesting, because if through a ritual Daenerys and Jon's son can be saved, he could certainly be the prince that was promised. Let me explain. In the history of Game of Thrones, there have never been any Targaryen as powerful as Daenerys and Jon Snow. Daenerys is immune to fire and has 3 dragons, plus she has the ability to see the future through her visions. Jon Snow is an amazing warrior, but he has also come back from the dead, and has managed to become an adult dragon rider. I have no doubt that if Jon and Daenerys had a Targaryen son, perhaps he could be the savior of the world of men, or the worst threat to ever come to Westeros. That's why I mentioned that delving into this idea would be very interesting. If indeed Daenerys was pregnant, but the baby could not survive, this would cause a mental breakdown for Jon Snow as he realizes that not only he ended the love of his life, but he also finished off his child. Which could lead him to reflect on his actions and regret what he did. Eventually, this regret could turn into hatred towards those people who brought him to that point, and we could see Jon Snow begin to fall into madness. Remember that the Targaryen have a tendency to go mad in times of stress and despair, so this could be reason enough for Jon to begin to fall into the darker side of the Targaryen lineage. However, there is also the possibility that they managed to save the child through magic in the Temple of the Lord of Light. After all, it was thanks to magic that Daenerys lost the first pregnancy. If Daenerys' baby can be saved, it could become a great threat to Westeros. First of all, he or she would have Drogon at his or her disposal from birth, the most dangerous dragon that currently exists in Westeros, and could seek revenge for what happened. Perhaps a Game of Thrones sequel could focus on the arrival of a new Targaryen prince who seeks revenge for the death of his mother, only to discover that his father was the one who killed her, and that he must become the prince that was promised to save mankind. One last idea about this theory suggests that not only Daenerys' son would be saved, but Daenerys herself could be resurrected and conclude her pregnancy, which further increases the danger to Jon Snow. The idea of a pregnant Daenerys is very interesting, but I consider it unlikely. However, it is an idea that, if fulfilled, would be in line with the events of Game of Thrones, and would give us a reason why Daenerys' body was transported to Volantis. But tell me, what do you think about this theory? Do you think Daenerys was pregnant by Jon Snow? And if you like this content, I invite you to become a member of this channel. Each contributor will see their name at the end of all videos. And for more videos with theories, news, and stories from the Game of Thrones universe, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on. The Three-Eyed Raven.